Hello, guys. It's Mark Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, Gesundheit Lane. So we're here with our table and live stream, but nobody seems to be here. So maybe it's just a beautiful summer evening. If no one shows up in the next few minutes, we'll Gesundheit Elaine. We'll say sayonara and go play in the summer sun, and we shall see. Hello, Dave. How are you? There's nobody else here.
It's just the two of us.
Wow. And we can't hear you. Okay.
Hi.
There you go.
Hello.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah,
my
it's
gosh.
part of your charm.
It looks pretty.
There you go.
But may I say,
Hi, Scott.
You're amazingly happy for somebody
Yeah.
who's been through dental things.
Yes.
It wasn't miserable. It wasn't. Don't look forward to it.
Right.
But I'll have the permanents put in a couple of weeks, and we'll
There's
see
Kimberly.
what happens. People.
Okay, great.
Hi,
Yes.
Kimberly.
So, okay, well, we should jump in and go from there.
I'm about to send you these requests from
Oh,
our
great.
phone call.
Thank you.
Good.
It's
Thank you.
rendered, so I'll take a quick look and I'll post them for you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And so here we are at the table, Mr. Sci-Fi simulcast. And so,
Hi,
Dave, would you
Carol.
like to have your turn first just to get it over with, or what would you like?
Yes, let's get this thing over with.
Yes.
I'm Dave Edison. I'm the editor of Space Command.
Yay.
I've been to the dentist today. I've had 2 crowns put in, so don't mess with me.
Yeah, really.
No, they were fine. They were temporary crowns. The permanents will be in 2 weeks, and then don't mess with me.
Yes, really.
So
Really.
everything is fine. We're moving forward. We're getting more VFX for the first. For the second episode,
Mhm.
and we're talking to our reworked VFX team,
Yes.
103, and we'll be moving forward on that.
Yep.
And other than that, a film that I had worked on has gotten a deal, and
Wow.
so
Really?
Mazel
That's
tov.
great.
sent them some files that the distributor needs.
Wow.
There'll be more information on that in the weeks to come.
That's amazing.
And I'll be doing an interview next week
Wow.
for a DVD of a film that I worked on years ago.
Okay.
And it's getting its first. It looks like it's getting its first ever DVD release.
Wow.
Things
great.
happen. I can't promise that that'll come through, but I'm looking forward to it.
Wow.
Being on DVD finally.
Amazing.
And I'll tell you all about that in the weeks to come. Hope everybody
Also-
over at Mr. Sci-Fi is doing well.
Yes.
And as more people come in, we'll hear from them. And I'll
Yes.
talk to you soon.
Well, Dave,
Take care.
Dave, one thing I was going to mention is that your movie Steel and Lace that you co-wrote with Joe Dougherty and star in is I'm about to do the history of science fiction movies of the 90s. And so tell me what you want me to say about it, and I will.
All right, we'll discuss it.
Yes.
That's the. It's interesting that you mentioned that film. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. So, but why should that affect my opinion?
All right, I can send you a viewing copy.
Great, that'd be great.
That's
for
cool.
Mr. Sci-Fi people, this is a little film with a bit of a cult following from 1991. It was released just over 30 years ago. It's called
Yes.
Steel and Lace. It stars David Naughton from American Werewolf in London. It stars Bruce Davison, who started his career. The first time I saw him, he was Willard,
Yes.
a boy and his rats.
Yes.
Stacey Haddock from the 1990s Superboy series
Wow.
is in it, and I have a couple of scenes with some really good people, including the late David L. Lander.
Wow.
Who's also remembered as Squiggy. He was
Wow.
he was in this as well. So it was an interesting little film and a low budget film, and
Yes.
got some good memories from it.
Well, the only scene I've ever seen from it, and I've seen this scene repeatedly, is the one with you in it, because you've at various points you've come to the table and shown it, and of course that was a period in your life before you had that growth on the top of your head removed. What was it called? Oh, it's hair.
Hair, yes. As I've said, that's back when I had hair and potential.
Yes, exactly. But
and somehow you've gotten rid of both of them.
exactly. Yes. Well,
that's his job.
well, as you know, the motto of our company is "Where dreams go to die."
Yeah. But you did say
Slowly.
Yes.
slowly. But when you said that you were having to deliver some things for the film that's being picked up, we probably should shoot out to the membership, for the few people who don't know, a list of common deliverables, because I think some people get caught.
Yes.
They could get caught flat-footed because they're not aware of the common deliverables. I mean, every
Yes.
company is a little different, but there are these standards, and
Well, people might not even know what that phrase means. It simply means that there's a whole bunch of things you have to provide when someone buys your movie, and it's just like a soundtrack without the dialogue, so that they can put in a dubbed version in different languages, things like that.
but there's a long pile.
Or the picture with no text.
Yes, that's
the
interesting.
Textless version.
Wow,
Well, there's variations. And it varies company to company,
Yes.
deal to deal, but
Yes.
there are some standards.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those. Suzanne Lyons provided me with a couple of the deliverable things, but it was as different as it was from, as you say, from company to company. Overall, there are things that you better damn well have ready.
Yes.
And the trick is to get the deal.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So great. Well, thanks, Dave. Yay! 3 cheers, Dave. So I see Adam has joined us. So is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yeah, let's take a look. Sorry I'm late, guys.
No.
But getting ready for
Shrek.
stuff.
Yeah.
When I take my turn in a little bit.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Very exciting.
Let's see, oh, here we go. We have a question from Rob Geisen,
Great.
who I think is new. I haven't
Yeah.
seen that
Well,
name.
good to hear from you.
Great.
Hi, Rob.
So his question is, what is your favorite Theodore Sturgeon short story?
What's the title? Saucer of Loneliness. Saucer of Loneliness is by far my favorite Sturgeon story. It's a great story. If you've never read it, do so. And there was an adaptation of it that David Gerald did on Twilight Zone when it came back in the 80s, but I didn't like his adaptation. I would have loved to have done an adaptation myself, but that is definitely my favorite Sturgeon story. So, and if you've never read Theodore Sturgeon, he's one of the great writers of science fiction, an amazing guy. He was one of my mentors when I was a teenager and in my 20s, and really a phenomenal man, one of a kind. So great. And so, hi, Carol, you're here. So why don't you take your turn, because it's rare that we.
I have a list. I always have a list. I'm wearing 2 pairs of
Sure.
glasses. First of all, I want to tell you both, I think you're very rich.
Thanks.
I
Well, thank you.
you're some of the touched. I think you're some of the richest people I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a big, like, and realizing when I saw the movie Buena Vista Social Club, which
Yes.
is so wonderful,
yes.
and how one of the musicians was saying they've been living in such abject poverty while under communist regime, but he has his guitar and he has his music, and that's going to bring through.
Yes. Yes.
And yes, and I know so many people who are coming from the opposite space. They have so much largesse and entitlement around them, and they have no soul. And no,
Yes.
So I just wanted to thank you for your riches.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's very
So much to us. Yes.
well.
I hope
Thanks.
Sweet Haven is doing well.
Yes.
So I hope it's doing well. My friend sent me this script.
Uh-huh.
It's long. He wants me to play 3 little roles in it.
Hmm.
Now, he wants to kind of record it and use it as a selling point,
Huh.
which
Okay.
is nice, and I'm honored. But he wants to pay us, and he wants us to memorize it.
Wow.
He's going to pay us not handsomely, but not bigly.
Hmm.
And I have to call him tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I have the time. He wants it memorized within 3 weeks, 3 different parts.
It's
I'm honored, but come on, it's
Yeah.
it's not live theater. It's not an equity show.
yeah. I mean, it's really to go anywhere beyond a table read. Is really unnecessary, quite frankly.
So,
But yeah, that's strange. But okay, what else?
I think so. And let's see. On oh yeah. I think you should go to Marie Callender's bed.
Yes. Yes. That's a good idea. Yeah.
I sent you a list of.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah.
Yes, well,
But just
we're
go
running.
ahead and talk to them. Screw it. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
we have a few times, but we did, and Howard did, and
Mhm.
our former manager Fabian did, and nothing seemed to crack them.
Well,
I wonder what their need. Are they afraid of crowds right now? Because I am a little.
I don't know.
Yes, that's part of it, but part of it was they don't have. I mean, Fabian's spirit was to keep that restaurant open and running and good for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's why his was one of the few Marie calendars that didn't close
Uh,
during the hard times. But then he was moved over to Lancaster, and he said the way he mentioned in a kind of a nice passing way was that they just weren't into that kind of effort.
Hmm. Yeah. So, but yes, but we'll.
bring in lots of money for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
And that one that's quiet.
we'll find some alternative. We'll come up with something.
Yeah,
What
Howard,
else?
Howard Benjamin's
Wasn't
really
the
helpful.
pandemic? I'd say bring chairs and come.
Right. Yes.
I don't know. I can sit on this. But, let's see. But I have. Carol, can you at least read your handwriting here? This is good. Yeah. Who? You know, I keep saying it, these days are numbered with this literary manager.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, I could prove intentional inducement. That's what all these agents do when they get pocket you.
Uh huh.
You know, I'm not going to go the distance here, but I'm the wimp in the equation here because I kind of feel badly that I'm going to reject her. I mean, that's the
Yes.
truth.
Uh-huh.
But it's business. I can't stay with this.
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
No, I can't stay with this, and I want her to know it's nothing on her character, but I need a little bit of attention.
Hmm.
No, not a lot, but just to know that I'm in the room. So I will keep you posted.
Okay.
Yes, but remember,
Great.
get somebody before you drop her, somebody else.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I'm a little concerned that what if she does suddenly get me an interview and then I'm locked in?
Well, you can always fire her and just say that she'll commission that deal. You know, I mean,
Oh, really?
it's yeah.
For more than 3 months.
I mean, it's but don't get too wrapped up worrying about anything. There's no need. You know.
And
I mean,
and you don't have to make a big emotional thing of it. Just say, look, I was really flattered and appreciated when you took me on, but as you know, it just nothing's been happening, and I just have to move on at this point. But
well,
I
yeah.
appreciated being with you for that brief time. I mean, you just be
Alright.
very practical. Just, you know, it's a business. It's a business.
It is. It is. I mean,
I'm such a mashed potato.
well, severing with an agent who has gotten you no work is like worrying about the feelings of an imaginary playmate when you're telling them you can't make the lunch date. You know, so I mean, it's like it's sort of useless. You know, it's sort of useless to worry about what's going to happen. If they've earned no money from you, it's not going to be a big deal. So, anything else, Carol?
One last quick
Yeah.
question. I sometimes I've heard when you pitch that they want a differentiation between story arc and character arc, and I don't really see how
Yes.
all that.
Oh, it's
They're totally
It's
different.
totally- it's
They're
so
totally different. And story arc is the parabola of the plot. Basically, it's how the story does beginning, middle, and end. Okay. Character arc is how each individual character progression of how they get from point A to point B in their character in the movie. So, for instance, if you were going to talk about Avatar, you might say that the female alien character goes from being totally suspicious to being willing to throw away her life for the love of this guy. Okay, so she lets go totally of suspicion and anger and opens herself to love. Okay, but that's not the plot of the movie. That's not the arc of the movie. That's just the arc of her character. See?
I think it's so interrelated.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, they are, of course. But the point is, like, it's like when you talk to an actor, like let's say an actor has a walk-on role where he plays a butcher and he talks about the veal. You know, if you ask that actor what the movie's about, he would say it's about a butcher who's delivering veal. So, you know, he would make it sound like he's the star because, you know, and so, you know.
No, I could keep it separate. Okay.
Okay.
But no, I mean, each character has any kind of substantial screen time should have their own arc. It makes it far more interesting. If they don't have an arc, you have something sort of lying there on the page.
Right.
But the story should have its own separate arc.
Yes.
And each character within your piece should have intertwining arcs, one that
Yeah,
affects
but-
another.
But that said, be careful of it. You don't want to give every single character an arc because,
Butcher the field.
well, it can just get too cluttered. If you think of your favorite movies, the first 3 or 4 characters might have arcs, but
Sure.
but it's not, the delivery boy who gets a 10-cent tip. It's not gonna.
No,
It's not,
the only thing you want from your other characters to keep
Mhm.
the energy up
Mhm.
is something that they clearly want. I mean, even the thug who goes in to inform the boss, he wants to impress the boss. Or he wants the boss not to be mad at him.
Yeah.
But you have to give them something they want, or the actor has something to play. But that's not an arc. It's just
Right.
something that they're after.
Okay.
Okay, so a little different, but they're related. Okay,
Got it.
that's great. That's all.
Yay! 3 cheers. Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. And then if I can go
Yes.
after that.
That was the plan. Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. So our next Mr. Sci-Fi question is from Scott Gamble.
Hi, Scott.
He asks, can you tell more about your brush with Ray Harryhausen
Of
and
course.
the potential Jason sequel?
Yes.
How did it come about? Did Ray Bradbury introduce you? And what kept it from happening?
It's a very interesting story, or maybe not. We'll take a run at it and you'll tell me. I, of course, grew up loving Ray Harryhausen's films. As any kid who was into science fiction and fantasy films loved Harryhausen. He was a one of a kind. And so he came out with a book called it was like My Life in Animation, My Animated Life, or whatever. It was a big coffee table book about all of his work and his life. And in the back there was this amazing appendix of all these projects that never got made. And that started me thinking of like, well, why don't I try to do some of those? So there was a guy named Arnold Cunard who had been a high school teacher. Oh, heck, I'm sorry. I'll turn this off. Sorry. There. Let me just turn my phone off. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. There was a guy named Arnold Cunard who had been a high school teacher, and Entertainment Tonight did a piece on Harryhausen, and they mentioned that Harryhausen had never won an Oscar. And Arnold Cunard said to his wife, "Wow, that somebody should do something about that." And she said, "Why don't you do something about it?" Now, he had no contacts in the entertainment business, but he decided to undertake it to get Harryhausen an Oscar. So he started reaching out to people in the industry, who he knew were fans of Harryhausen, like Spielberg and Tom Hanks and so forth, and they all responded. They were all thrilled at the idea. And so that year, at the end of that year, at the Oscar telecast, Tom Hanks presented Ray Harryhausen with an Oscar. And so that was so Cunard then became sort of Harryhausen's guy, sort of being his, in a way, almost his representative. So I'd met Arnold and I mentioned this idea and he thought it was a great idea. So I then pitched it to the Sci-Fi Channel, and like doing I think a slate of 4 of Harryhausen's unmade projects, and they liked the idea, and one of them was going to be a sequel to Jason and the Argonauts called Jason in the Underworld that I had come up with, and then there was 3 other projects. I have files on all this stuff, and but sadly, the company that they wanted us to team with one of the production companies that had been doing their TV movies, and of course those were sort of schlockmeisters, and we just couldn't ultimately come to an agreement that worked for everybody, and so it fell apart, sadly. But Harryhausen was one of a kind, and I'm really glad that I got to meet him and meet with him. We actually, my friend Chris Wyatt and I and Elaine flew to London to meet with Harryhausen at his house, which is the house that Michael Powell used to live in, of the Red Shoes fame, and Harryhausen had bought it, and he had an original painting by Gustave Doré on the wall, and he took us into his sanctum sanctorum that had all of the maquettes and the figurines from his movies. So it was just an amazing experience. So sorry. But so it was a great time, and I'm sorry it didn't come to fruition, but certainly, 20 million miles to Earth, absolutely, was signed by Harryhausen. Yes, David Barr. Oh no, Willow is showing us something. Yeah, that's great, very cool. But we also tried to do another project called War Eagles, which was in 1939, 1940. Willis O'Brien, who's the great animator of King Kong, and Marion C. Cooper, who was the producer, and Ernest Schoedsack, they tried to develop a movie that would have been a color stop motion animated film about this lost land of Vikings who flew on gigantic eagles, and they end up in New York taking on the Nazis. And I've seen still photos from the tests. It was going to be in Technicolor. It was going to be an amazing film. Supposedly there's test footage of it, color footage. I've never seen that, but we started working up how to do that film, and I took a swing at it. I think I outlined it from the various different drafts. It was that would have been a great project too, but again, sadly nothing came of it. So, and that's always going to be the case when you're a writer. There's always going to be the ones that don't come to fruition, you know. So there you go. So let's see. So Adam, it's your turn. Go for it.
I have to go right after this because tonight is the final dress rehearsal for Shrek the Musical.
Yay!
Yay!
And I am playing the titular role.
Yes. Wow.
Whoa.
He just put on the Shrek head, the little ears. Yeah, it's
More than this, I also have a facial prosthetic and
Wow.
makeup that I need to put on.
wow. That's great.
And costume and everything.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, we open tomorrow night.
Wow.
It's our virtual production,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it's done over the internet. Anyone, anywhere with an internet connection can see it.
Great.
And everyone, all of the actors are basically broadcasting through Zoom. So
Huh.
everyone,
Wow.
which is why I can do it, because it's based in Davis, California, here in Sacramento.
Wow. That's great.
So yeah, all the musical numbers are pre-recorded, and that gets away. That helps because you can't really, with the lag problems with Zoom, you can't have
Yeah.
singing numbers. But those are all pre-recorded, and the dialogue is done live over Zoom.
Wow, that's great. So terrific. Go ahead, please.
On top of that, last Saturday, we had a premiere of the pilot that I star in, Fat John the Vampire Slayer.
Wow, great.
It looked really, really good. So
Wow.
I'm very,
Great.
very hopeful for it. They're going to be next thing. They're pitching it to Netflix. They have a connection through Netflix Saudi Arabia.
Huh. Cool.
And they're going to try to, through that, get to mainland Netflix.
Yes. Wow.
So that's the plan
That's great.
there, and hoping to hear back from that.
And Adam, how can make sure you post on both Mr. Sci-Fi and on the table where how people can watch the Shrek and how they can be part of it, because I think people would really love to.
It's Davis Musical Theater Company, or dmtc.org.
Okay.
Website.
Great. And make sure you send out an email to the table about that too, so that people can be part of it. I'm sure people will want to very much. So
it runs what is it? This weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday matinee.
Wow.
And next weekend, same thing.
Wow.
Friday,
Oh,
Saturday,
okay.
Yeah,
Great.
Sunday matinees at 2 p.m.
Wow, that's great in glorious Wi-Fi-orama. So
yeah, exactly.
That's great.
I mean, it's not very clean cut. There's one guy that's been editing it, and he's not a normal editor. So
yeah, that basically sums up all editors, as Dave would affirm.
you gotta bear with it. But that said, the performances are on point.
Yeah,
the music is beautiful and the songs are great. So
that's wonderful.
It's a really great musical.
Terrific.
On top of all that, my podcast is ongoing. I'm going to be interviewing David Bartlett next.
Wow.
Woo.
But before that, my next episode coming out on Monday is going to be with a guy who's a PA on Sandman, coming to Netflix next year.
Cool.
Which, Neil Gaiman.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
Neil Gaiman, I was like, hey, my third guest knows.
Mm-hmm.
We had a nice chat
Great.
about that in the Showrunners Network. I mentioned the Showrunners Network.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, cool. So anything else? Anything you need?
I think that's it. What I need is air conditioning.
Yes, yes, yes.
I
Well,
have 2 fans on me right now, so hopefully that'll.
But congratulations.
Yeah,
You've been, wow, you're really hot.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
It's Sartain summer.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Good for you.
That's great.
Hot for ways than warm.
Yeah, well, that's great. Congratulations. 3 cheers. Yay, Adam. So I saw. Go ahead, please.
I will bid you adieu, and I'm leaving you in the capable hands of David Bartlett, who's
Great.
now the host.
Great. Okay, terrific. Thanks, Adam. Good seeing you. Now I saw one.
Mark,
Yes, hello, David.
I want to make sure I'm on Mission Sci-Fi. Do I log in with your login?
I have no idea. This is a man thing. I don't know.
All right, well, let me see what I can do.
Okay, but I
Okay.
saw that there was a question, and I can comment on it.
Go for
Someone.
it.
Oh, David, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. Someone mentioned Hodorowski's Dune and H.R. Giger, and I actually know a lot about this subject. There's a terrific documentary called Hodorowski's Dune. Hodorowski was the director of a lot of sort of countercultural, spacey kind of indie films like The Magic Mountain and El Topo, and he got the rights to make Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune, into a movie, and he went very far into pre-production. This is before Star Wars had come out, before Alien, and he brought together the artists who would be basically the major design team on everything from then on, including Star Wars, Alien, Total Recall, just on and on and on and on. I mean, all the major films. And he brought together Ron Cobb and H.R. Giger, who then worked together on Alien. And throughout the movie, Hodorowski shows this book of all the artwork and all the storyboards and all that. And I found a website that has scans of those storyboards. So I'll eventually put it up on Mr. Sci-Fi where people can access some of that stuff. But I was thinking how cool it would be to, and also Mobius was one of the great designers on that as well. He would then do, of course, he'd work on Alien, designing the spacesuit, and on Fifth Element extensively. So just amazing design team. And so one could actually take those storyboards if one were a mind to, and one could actually do sort of an animatic, of them, and that would be very fun. So anyway, but that's in the future. But H.R. Giger did design work on that, and then he came aboard Alien, coming off of that, because Dan O'Bannon had worked on Dune, and he's the one who brought Ron Cobb onto it. It's just an amazing story of how all the stars aligned, and that version of Dune never got made. Sadly, it might have been a terrible movie. We don't know, but it was a fascinating creative groundswell that led to basically all the great science fiction movies of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. And so there's definitely a story to be told there. So
I think Kimberly's been waiting for
Kimberly,
quite a while.
yeah, Kimberly, do you want to take your turn?
Kimberly, are you there? You're one of our first. Are you there, Kimberly? Hello.
No, she's not there.
Hi.
There you are.
Alright,
Okay, yeah,
there-
take your turn. Go for it.
There you are. Yes, you were one of our earliest, and you were getting bumped. So
Go for it.
Okay. I just wanted to say hi. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Mhm.
The last time I was in a meeting, you were at the Marie Callender's.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Well, we're going to
Yeah.
be going back to someplace sometime soon. So
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi. Wanted to connect. Every now and then I'm on the, I'm looking at the emails coming through, and I found some great people for different projects that I've been on
Oh, great.
through the table. So I just wanted to thank you for that and providing, the opportunity.
Mm.
And I write. Primarily, I'm a writer,
mhm.
and I do a little bit of filmmaking, like working as a producer here and there on different independent projects.
Oh.
And recently, I did some first AD work. But writing is my first love.
Hmm.
And I just, since the last time I was there, I started doing a little bit of stand-up
Mhm.
Oh.
comedy. I like writing comedy mostly. And so that's what I've been doing.
Oh, great. Do
Wow.
you have any requests or any
Is there
questions?
anything you need?
At the moment, I did invite a friend. I think she's on here. Her
Okay.
name's Susan.
Yes, she is here.
Susan Claire Douglas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I invited her. She's come before.
Mhm.
We were at the restaurant. her and I have been collaborating on some animation. So it's our first time writing an animation pilot.
Oh, great.
And so right now we're just tweaking it, and I'm trying to prepare to, perhaps pitch it. And if you have any suggestions on how people approach animation, because I'm used to live action.
Yeah.
So animation is kind of like a new world for both of us.
Yes.
So if there's any advice that you might have when you're trying to pitch an animation project or get it out there, we'd be happy to hear that.
Yes. Well, and the animation wing of the Writers Guild meets once a month. They're probably doing it online now, but it's the AWG, animation wing of whatever it stands for. But you can they have a group on Facebook also, and that would be a great group to know about and
but
find
also,
out about.
If we just put the word out generally, I think more than one of our members have sold animated work.
Well, is this adult animation or kid animation? What's the target?
Kid animation.
So the main trick is finding who knows the executives at various places, like Nickelodeon and so forth, and gee, let me think about all this. There's, it's very similar to selling live action shows. It's not that different. It's just mainly getting the meetings, and being able to run it by them.
The big thing is the research for something like that, because you want to know who knows how to sell animation and that would fit your tone and your specific audience, who would be receptive to it.
What? Yeah. Oh, go ahead, please. Yeah. You might want to look at shows that are successful, that if someone liked that show, they'd like your show, and then reverse engineer and find out who their agent is, who, how the deal came to fruition for them. You can, look through the Variety database or whatever, and just and then reach out to that agent, you never know. And, so
it's very interesting. I've talked to an awful lot of buyers, and one buyer will say, there's no market for this. This won't sell, because they've never sold anything like it. And you go over to another buyer and they sell it, boom. And that's where research is very important, because at the American film market, or just, I once went to the Family Film Festival, which is a pretty nice festival. And there was a distributor who was going on and on about how a particular filmmaker wanted a theatrical release, and it was going to kill the movie. It was not appropriate for a theatrical release. It needed to go directly to TV, and it just wouldn't work. And somebody next to him said, "Oh, wait, was this such and such?" And the fellow said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, yes, we picked that up for theatrical. It did very well for us."
Yeah. So the rules are, there's no such thing as an ironclad rule.
Right. Yeah. That's where it's about researching whose taste is whose taste.
Yes. Now, anything else? Anything else you need?
At the moment, no.
Great. Okay. Yay. So David, were you able to access the Mr. Sci-Fi site?
I was, and I've got some things going on here. I'm not sure which ones you addressed because I was a little bit late.
Yeah, I don't know, but if there's a question, I can.
Sure. Hey, did you do one about the Twilight Zone episode? Did the man who claimed he could raise the dead?
Wait, say that again, David. I'm sorry.
Scott Baker says,
Hi, Scott.
Mr. Sci-Fi, did Katzlin not remind you of the Twilight Zone episode with the man who claimed he could raise the dead?
Let's see. Did Oh, yes. Yes. I mentioned that. The ending is very similar to the last shot of Mr. Garrity and the Graves when I did the
That's right.
video on Mr. Sci-Fi. Yes, so absolutely.
Now what about good? Now what about Rob Greason, who says, "Hello, Mr. Sci-Fi. What's your favorite Peter Sturgeon short story?"
We already did that one. So
Here's what you didn't do.
Uh-oh.
Fit to be read. Have you read much Greg Egan?
No, I haven't.
My
And
most
so,
recent read and review is Dick or Not's really fantastic.
well, there you go. A testimonial. So no, I haven't gotten to him yet. Though I do want to show something. Now, there's a very, very famous writer in science fiction named Harlan Ellison. In fact, that's my portrait. The portrait I did of Harlan when I was a teenager, that Harlan used as his portrait on his website. And there's one book that's the rarest of all Harlan Ellison books, very difficult to find, very expensive generally. And I found a reasonably priced copy in North Carolina and just got it. So Harlan wrote this book. It's a collection of short stories about Sorry, the dogs are acting up. Dogs. it's Harlan wrote this. It's short stories about juvenile delinquents written in 1959, and he wrote it under the pseudonym of Paul Merchant. And it is, here it is, Sex Gang. Sex Gang. And and Harlan never, for many years he was very embarrassed about this book, but then recently they republished it, and while the original version had a woman in lingerie being menaced by a juvenile delinquent with a knife, they changed it here where it's a woman menacing a juvenile delinquent with a razor, a straight edge razor. So pretty funny. So okay, great. So given that, what? I'll let you know soon, Dave. But I guess Kushik, I guess you're next on my screen. So why don't you go?
Hey guys, this is Kaushik again. I'm a comedy writer and a comedy actor, and I'm eagerly waiting for table to go in person, so I can meet everybody and have some nice dinner and coffee. So I recently finished my writing class at Los Angeles City College.
Great.
Wrote a single cam sitcom pilot. And right now I'm trying to develop a feature film idea with a couple of my friends. They all had been actors and they all have producing experience. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to put together maybe like a couple of $1,000s each. Maybe raise the total amount to close to 10 grand or something. And then our goal is to try and write a script based on the access to locations we have among ourselves.
Great.
Customized script, and that will also include the all of us who are the actors / producers. And then we will see if we can get the film done, and then we will see what happens from there onwards.
Great.
So my question is, what could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. And
Right?
it's made in heaven. I mean, I'll tell you, the real determination of whether or not something gets to the finish line is simply the decision of somebody that they're not going to stop until they get to the finish line, that whatever it takes, they're going to do it. And that's the fascinating thing. If you can be stopped, you will be stopped. And it's very important to really make the determination that you'll no matter what it takes, you'll find a way. Because the lovely thing about film as an art form is that it's endlessly malleable. So let's say, I love that story about Orson Welles when the costumes didn't arrive and he decided to shoot Shakespeare in a Turkish bath and just wrapped all his actors in towels, and that's resourcefulness. That's clever. And again, that's why I say anything worth doing is worth doing badly, because you start by doing it badly and then it gets better. You can polish it and refine it and learn your craft and all of that. But the people who endlessly wait for the stars to be in alignment to do things easily are usually going to end up never getting anything done, because it just, that usually doesn't happen. Every now and then you get a freebie, but very rarely. And so you just have to be the engine driving things. That's the bottom line. And then, but just make sure that what you're doing, what you're creating, is something that you personally love, and that helps a lot. And so anything else, Kaushik?
My main worry is that I'm a very highly determined person. So if we actually go forward with this, I'm not going to stop until the whole thing is done.
Great.
My only worry is that I have seen a lot of, I actually did some research and tried to see watch some like really crappy movies.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of them.
We can just find them on YouTube and stuff,
Yeah.
Complete feature length productions, and like I'm sure they were made for like really peanut money.
Yes.
So my worry is that I don't want to end up making something like that, which is complete joke and like waste of everybody's time.
Right.
I'd rather not make that.
Yes.
Your time and money making a good shot.
Yes.
So that's why my worry is that if I'm going forward, I want to see a product that we all would be proud of.
Yes.
Not making something which is like, people would, oh my God, is
Yeah.
this what you made?
Obviously, the way to at least help yourself a bit with that is to make sure the script works before you shoot it. And that the way you do that is you figure out who are the people who can read it and give you feedback that will really who really know what they're talking about. The other thing that most films fail in is the quality of the acting. So again, it's vital that you the performances are solid. So that's two things. A third thing to think about is there anything you can put into it that already has a guaranteed audience? Sometimes that can be casting one name actor. Sometimes it's having the subject matter be something that people care about. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm very lucky because I work in science fiction, and that's a very popular genre. And I also know all these actors who are already popular. So, so there are ways you can kind of tilt things in your favor. But again, it's better to make a bad movie than to make no movie at all, frankly. And if there's a terrible movie. There's a guy who was a photographer out in New York, and he decided that he was going to pull together money, I guess, from his family or whatever, and make a movie in black and white. And he made this war picture, and it's terrible, and it's called Fear and Desire. And it's a dreadful movie. And that was the first feature film by Stanley Kubrick. So the point being, his first movie is, and you can see it online. You can see it. I mean, it's online. You can watch the whole movie. And it's dreadful. And the good part is he got better. He got a lot better. But he started with that film. So again, the best way to get good at something is to start by doing it. And because that really forces you to get on your game. Yeah.
Right.
So many people just wait forever and never take chances. A big part of all of this is being willing to risk failure. Many people are so terrified of failure they don't even start. And so yeah. So I think you're on the right track. So anything else?
Thank you, Mark. And I invited my friend Ravi to
Great. Hi, Ravi.
Yeah.
Great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So again, for those who are new tonight, we do a simulcast with the table and also with my Mr. Sci-Fi channel. So we've got 2 screens going right now. So David, is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Mark Longo says, so
Hi, Mark.
Leverage Redemption is premiering tomorrow.
Mm.
Did you ever watch the original series? And if so, what did you think of it?
No, I haven't. There's such, when I was growing up, there were 3 networks, and you could pretty much watch almost everything that was on television one way or another with syndication and all of that. Now it's impossible. And so no, Leverage is one of the ones I haven't gotten to. I'm just watching Manifest now because I want to be disappointed at the end. So, but it's a fun show, very fun show. But no, I haven't. So I guess, Ravi, if you want to take your turn, introduce yourself and say who you are and what you're up to and anything you need.
Hey, my name is Ravi. This is my first Zoom interaction with the table.
Great.
Kaushik, my classmate, my college mate, he introduced me to this wonderful group of people.
Great.
So I'm a film student, international Indian.
Great.
I did a master's in Full Sail University, doing certification in City College, independent. I recently made a short film for an Indian COVID festival.
Great.
It's like a 2-minute short film, and I'm writing a few other. I'm actually prepping for another short film which I'll be shooting by the end of this month.
Yes.
I'm working on scripts for the next month. So before this year ends, I'll be finishing at least 4 short films.
Great. That's terrific. So one thing I always advise people who are doing short films is if you can think of how to shoot several shorts that somehow structurally can dovetail so they can be put together as a feature, that can allow you to make it a much more, it can have a much greater possibility of financial return. So for instance, if you look at ensemble films, a movie like Crash, any film that has multiple storylines with multiple characters, those could have been shot as shorts that could then be intercut. Or if there's a theme, like there was a movie about robots that had an all Asian American cast, and it was several stories, and that was the theme that connected them. So if you think that way, it can allow you to kind of make a feature more easily because you're doing it in like 15-minute or 20-minute chunks, you know. But and also in terms of the table's been going 28 years every Thursday. Prior to the pandemic, we were at a restaurant, but we also have an email component where you can get on the email and connect out. You can send one email out to all several thousand table members and get their emails. And David Bartlett can connect you up with that list, Ravi. So and very soon we're going to be meeting in person, as well as figuring out some way to continue doing a Zoom component. So so anything you need?
I mean, this is my first interaction. I'll be here every Thursday.
Mhm.
Again, meeting. Maybe I'll share you the links of the work.
Great.
I'm getting critique from all of you.
Terrific. That'll be great. Well, good to meet you. 3 cheers. Yay. And David, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Scott Baker says,
Hi, Scott.
Harlan looks like Jose Feliciano in that portrait.
Well, they actually were the same person. You're the first person to realize that. It's really
Not quite a question, but it's fun.
yeah. Harlan was one of a kind. I feel very sad that he's no longer with us. He was so youthful. I knew him from when I was a teenager on, and he's the person most responsible for me going to Clarion, the Clarion Writers Workshop, when I was 19 and selling my first short story. So he had a huge impact on my life, and between that and City on the Edge of Forever, he really was one of a kind. So so let's see. So David, do you want to take your turn?
I'm not quite ready, if you
Okay,
don't mind.
that's fine. So Willow, do you want to go?
Yes, hi. I made it. I am so happy with what Dave has just sent me this morning, or actually like 1 a.m. last night. The crazy man. He's in his spare time. He's not working on Space Command. He's working on putting together my thing, and so
Wow.
he never sleeps. So last week, I think it was last week before, I was kind of like down on my footage because I was looking at the raw footage, and you should never really judge something by the raw, but get a professional like Dave, yeah, he can make it look amazing. And so yes, I'm much happier with the results of what I'm seeing and the hands of an actual professional. And the show, for those who haven't been here, is it's kind of an updated reimagining series based on Manos, The Hands of Fate. That's probably the worst movie ever made, but I'm making it good. And I'm taking the original actress of Little Girl Debbie, and she's all grown up and hunting monsters. And I think it's looking good. I have hope again. Thank you, Dave, for that.
Well, hopefully it'll grow to more than 2.5 minutes.
Well, that's the idea, yes. There's a lot more footage, and I'm very sorry. But so we're still continuing to do pickups on that. We bought a drone a few weeks ago,
Wow.
and so we have one of the characters, spoilers, is an angel. That's introduced very early on. But anyway, so we have some shots of him, flying off his point of view with the drone. It's very beautiful.
Wow.
And that's really my dream project someday, is to actually do just a series about those guys, that angel guy and his brothers. But down the road. What else? Anything you want to say about it, Dave? What you're experiencing over there?
No, like you said, it's spare time, so I've been able to chip it together a little bit here and there, and I put the last couple of shots in last night and sent it off to you in the wee hours. So it'll get there slowly. Mostly weekends.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, I know. I get it.
I'm pleased with the footage. It looks fine. You were getting me worried when you were down on it, but yeah, it's just a puzzle. It's a puzzle every time.
Yeah, hopefully a fun puzzle.
I was not weeping.
Yay! No tears. No, at this point forward, no tears. So let's see what else. Since pickups, I've gotten a couple of work for hire gigs. A director I'm apparently his go-to writer, which makes me happy because he's like, hey, he calls me up randomly. I have an idea for a short, and a little exchange later, and he's shooting his short, and I've got another one that I'm writing. So I do work for hire if you want. And I said, look at why are you having me do these when your idea is so well laid out? And he said, well, because you're a far better writer than I am.
Huh.
I'm like, well, okay then.
Okay, great. So
let's see. So I do sci-fi, fantasy, magical realism, supernatural, all that genre stuff. You know, that's totally my wheelhouse. Let's see. I've been teaching film classes on a platform called OutSchool. Those are going really well, and I have some kiddos from ages 8 to 18 getting excited about film and film club and how to be a director, how to write a script. You know, those kinds of basic things. I've been volunteering quite a lot at my local museum. That's been a lot of fun. So we're working on the exhibits to open in September for that in the Gold Rush town of Coulterville. And finally just throwing together some fun, goofy YouTube videos about what I'm up to, generally homesteading things, crafts. I went to the Butterfly Festival and filmed that just because I could. So anyway, that's what I've been up to. Yay!
Yay! 3 cheers. Great. So, so David, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, Scott Baker's on a roll. He says, and Mr. Sci-Fi, in the movie version of Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yes.
Why is it that toward the end of the film, the 2 young actors seem to age a year or 2? Was it in the story in the book?
No. It was because they had to do reshoots. The movie wasn't working. It was a big disappointment. Ray Bradbury was there during the shooting. He says that he had to step in as director. I don't know how accurate that was, but he certainly felt that way. The kids went through a growth spurt when they were called back, which is always one of the dangers of working with children. And it's just a real misfire of a movie in many ways. Jonathan Pryce is terrific as Mr. Dark, but or Mr. Cougar, but I think he's Mr. Dark. He's great, and the opening shot of this night-bound train coming with this sort of like, you know, incredibly weird, hellish look to it is great. But so much of the casting is off. Jason Robards is a really bad choice to play the father. It's supposed to be an incredibly warm, older man, and Jason Robards has many skills, but warmth is not one of them. And he was always rather flinty, and he's terrific in any Eugene O'Neill play, but that was not the right role for him in Ray Bradbury material. So someday someone will do a better version of that book. It certainly deserves it, but that one isn't it at all by any means. So okay, great. So let's see. So I guess Albert, you're next on my screen if you want to talk and tell us your everything.
Well, hi, I'm Albert. I'm recently retired.
Oh, good.
I really don't have much writing experience. I met up with Larry at a meetup group. Great. So at first we were kind of joking around, well, let's write a script together. But since I know he's kind of in the business.
Yeah.
So from what he described, he said, well, if you want, you can attend one of these Zoom meetings and see what it's all about.
Yeah, and it's not until the second or third meeting that we make you buy Amway. But but please go ahead.
Yes, my experience in any business with performing arts, I mean, it doesn't go beyond having actually been an extra in 2 TV shows.
Great.
And being in my high school production of Fiddler on the Roof. But hey, I'm retired now. I can reinvent myself. And
yes.
So I just want to see what's involved in getting into this.
Yeah. Well, what kind of things do you want to write?
One thing I fantasize is something to do with the pandemic. I thought of something, and I'm going to give it a weird title. It's called Siege.
Mm-hmm.
It's about someone who's, because the pandemic is holed up, and her activities are limited, and you get sort of hints about what's going on in his life, but then he starts, he starts getting, because he's inside, he sort of gets agoraphobic, he gets paranoid. He kind of interprets certain events that there's people out to get him. That reinforces that he needs to keep staying in. He's more afraid. So the thing that it would sort of hint at what might be his own delusion, or what might actually be going on in his life that feeds this.
Okay, several things I can say on that. First of all, because all of us has just spent the last year cooped up, the executives generally don't want to see scripts that involve the pandemic, because they're getting a glut of them, because people wrote scripts about the pandemic during the pandemic. So just a word to the wise. There is a great history of really interesting films about people going crazy. Repulsion, the Catherine Deneuve film, is one of them, one of the greats. Also, The Tenant by Polanski is another one. There's a batch of them. And so you might want to study those, because first of all, it doesn't have to be set during a pandemic, because there are many reasons that someone is holed up. And but beyond that, yeah, I mean, now that you have the time, you definitely turning your mind toward writing is a good idea. The great thing about writing is it's not expensive to do. It's like, just a pencil and a piece of paper. So now, in terms of the table, as I mentioned earlier, we've been meeting for 28 years. We're thousands and thousands of members. We have offshoots all over the country and members all over the world. Once you come to a meeting, which you have, David Bartlett can sign you up for the email, and you can utilize that as a great resource. There are many, many, many professionals who work in the industry who are members of the table. Most actually are professionals working in the industry, and a lot of very accomplished writers. My wife and I have written for all the major studios and networks, hundreds of hours of produced network shows, on and on, and bestsellers in fiction and nonfiction. So we definitely can be very helpful in terms of advising. So the main thing is, write, learn from people who know what they're doing. There's a lot more TV being made than movies, so there's a reason to write television, but it's a hugely changing landscape now. So there's a lot of ways to make stuff happen. And so any other questions, Albert?
Is it okay, since I'm the people who participate they're involved in projects?
Yes.
I haven't sort of jumped in yet.
Do
you expect me to sort of like contribute?
No.
Every time, or
no. I mean, again, the point of the table, when I started the table all those years ago, it was because I wanted to create a supportive atmosphere in Hollywood. I wanted to create community. So there'd be no judgment. People are welcome if they're just starting or if they're already very accomplished. There's no judgment of who's deserving, who has talent or doesn't have talent. If you come with a good heart and a collaborative spirit, a mutually supportive spirit, you're welcome. People are encouraged to help each other, but there's no requirement to do so. And so, someone might be working as a production assistant on a little short that Koshik is doing, and then he in turn might be, helping them with something that they're up to. So, but yes, you can absolutely, we're here every Thursday. You're welcome to be part of it as much as you want to be. And again, the email, you'll see when David Bartlett, you can coordinate with him to get on the table email, and that's a very powerful tool, very useful. So,
great.
Yeah. So great. Sure. Welcome. 3 cheers. Yay. So, David, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, I can put up a couple of Ray Bradbury's in a row. They're not exactly questions necessarily, but they might be just observations and comments you can comment on these.
Yeah.
Scott Baker says, I'm a huge sci-fi fan. My favorite Ray Bradbury book is Dandelion Wine.
Yes.
He also says he loved the Tom Snyder interviews.
Yes.
And then Fit to Be Read says, I probably favor Martian Chronicles or Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah. Ray wrote very few full novels. Often he would write short stories that could then be shaped, either would be shaped as books, like Dandelion Wine is a collection of short stories based on when he was a boy growing up in Waukegan, Illinois. But it's a really, really good book. And my favorite Bradbury book is Martian Chronicles. I just love that book. I love Fahrenheit 451 as well, which is one of the few great novels that he did write. He's a terrific short story writer, really one of a kind. He was a dear friend for over a decade. I'd go to his house once a month and just hang out, and we'd just talk and talk and talk. It was really fun. And he was a great guy, and I'm working on. There's a project of his that I want to do, and we'll see where that leads ultimately. But he was a great man and a great writer. So let's see. So I guess, David, do you want to take your turn now?
Yeah, I can do that.
Sure, go for it.
Just a second here. So, it's exciting. Hi, everyone. My name is Eva Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, a human rights activist, and a producer on Space Command.
Yay!
Well, I'm also doing a lot of visual effects work on Space Command, and I'm also doing some casting and some other this and that, and building a studio. In fact, I'll get to that in a minute, but let's talk more about me just for a second. My background is in film dating back to when I was 10. I made my first movie, and then I made some more films in high school, and did a lot of work on plays, musicals, some acting, some dancing. I was in 2 choirs in high school and built a lot of sets, and directed. The only time as a student was allowed to direct a full-length play at my high school. That happened. And then I went to college for 3 months and decided that was definitely not for me because they didn't have any film classes I wanted to take. I took 4 classes in film they had, all of them. 2 of them junior senior classes, blew through them, flunked out of them all, not knowing I have any idea what they were trying to teach me to this day. So because I had a job working in a movie theater to be able to do my homework, I stayed in that and did that for 3 years. And I was a projectionist, and I worked as a manager and did all sorts of jobs in the theaters. And I got in my car and drove to LA basically to pursue my dream of directing films and become a filmmaker. And I've had a lot of experience since then. I've worked in independent small films with people like Roger Corman. I was building sets with a young production designer named Jim Cameron, whose fiance was Galen Hurd, who later, of course, did Terminator movies and Alien Nation, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and a little movie called The Abyss. And then she did a TV show recently. Let's see, what was that called? Oh, yeah, The Walking Dead. So she's been around for a long time. She recently got the Lifetime Achievement Award for the Producers Guild. So Gail's a very cool person. I saw her once. Gail's is a very powerful woman and also very confident. So I was at Warner Brothers and I heard this sort of tick, 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 tick sound. I looked up and there's Gail walking across the parking lot in a slinky sequins short cocktail gown with these high heels, like definitely going to some kind of a meeting. Very seriously, and it was very entertaining for me to see that combination of this very powerful, confident woman going to a meeting dressed like she was going out for the night, and she was great to work with too. She was very. I always tell a story every week if I can that's new. And this one's a new story. She did Alien Nation. Alien Nation was a film about an alien race that comes to Earth and they starting to become integrated with Earth, interacting with Earthlings, and the problems that come along with that. And it was a very controversial, tricky film to put together, and she was guiding it along. And they had Jerry Goldsmith doing the music, and Jerry Goldsmith is one of the greats of all time. And she was just not feeling the music, and she's working with the director and with everyone else in the studio, and she said, this isn't working. So they threw out his entire score.
Wow.
And they rescored it with a young guy named Kurt Sobel, and the music worked really well, and the film went on to become a hit.
Uh-huh.
Would it have been a hit with Jerry Goldsmith? Maybe. But that she would have the power of her concept to think that this would be the kind of change to make at that point in the film. It's a last minute and very expensive change to make, and Jerry Goldsmith, again, a giant paragon of film. And she made that call. I never forgot that. That was a very powerful lesson.
And David, do you know who wrote that movie?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Rock O'Bannon.
That's right. Rock O'Bannon, who we're working with now. Yeah. Who we're creating a network. That's right. We're creating this Sweet Haven with him. So very, very fun how that comes around. Rock had an amazing origin story, which was he wrote a spec script and it sold when they brought Twilight Zone back, it sold to Twilight Zone, and he got hired on as story editor, and at the same time he'd written a spec feature, and that sold. That was Alien Nation. And so he had a huge sale in features and a huge sale in television simultaneously. So he was really, he had a very, 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 he was very hot out of the gate. So that was great.
Interestingly, he didn't write it as Alien Nation. I can't recall the original title, but the title was working, and somebody came up with Alien Nation, which
Yes.
was the perfect title.
Yes, yes.
Perfect title.
Yeah, I think originally it was called When Harry Met Sally, and it just didn't sing for anybody.
Yeah, it didn't quite fit.
Didn't.
They tried a Boys Life for a while too, but that was taken.
Yeah, yeah. And then they tried the Mark Gushwitz podcast, and that didn't work either. So there you go. So go on, David, please.
Anyway, so that's my story for this week.
Great.
I worked with Gail on Point Break.
Yes.
Not Point Break. What was the other thing I worked with Gail on? Tremors.
Yes.
I worked with Gail on Tremors. But I heard the story because we had done the same company I worked at had done the alienation. I heard that story. So,
That's great.
yeah. Tremors was lots of fun.
Yes.
But that was the first big sound effects that I ever did.
Hmm.
So anyway, I went on after that, and I did films like Pulp Fiction and Total Recall and Speed. And
Great.
there's nothing happening now with Speed. There's some guy that's writing a book about Speed, and it's crazy, but he's really into it. So he contacted us to get sound effects stories because I had done the bus design. I did all the bus in Speed.
Wow.
I also did almost half of the sounds I selected for the editors to use. It's called pulling.
Yes.
So I pulled about almost half of the show.
Wow.
I had a lot to do with Speed, so we were recording the bus sound effects on Speed. We got a stunt bus driver, and one of the buses, and we went out to an airport near Temecula and rented the entire airport, a very small airport, so that the airstrip was all ours, and we drove the bus around doing all the stunts it did and recording the sounds, including the skids. And we almost had the bus turning over onto our car with the recorders into it, and the second recorder sat in the back of the bus rolling around, crashing.
Wow. Neat.
So then it goes over the treadles and pops the tire in the airport, right?
Right.
It's that flapping sound.
Yes.
It's actually a term in sound effects called a flug-a-lug.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes flug-a-lug, right?
Yeah.
So we needed that for a big tire. We didn't have it. So I said, okay, to the guy, can we make a tire flat and make it do that sound? He goes, yeah, $50. I'll give you a spare tire. I said, okay, fine. So we tried for almost 2 hours to get that tire to be flat enough to make that sound. It finally took a hacksaw that actually cut the tire into a big flap that came off about this big
Wow.
to make it make that sound.
That's
we
fun.
finally got it. And this guy comes running out in his little car and he says, get off the runway now. I say, well, okay, we had it until 5 o'clock. It's 4:55. Get off the runway now. There's no conning tower in this runway, and planes will be notified it's okay to land there. They could land on you. So we got off the runway.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We get landed on. And then the next day we drove the bus around on the freeway at 55 and 60 miles an hour for a long time because
Wow.
there's a big variety of sounds for that.
Yeah.
And I saw there's a scene where the police are on their little truck, a really big truck with carries like Caterpillar trailers. It's empty and it's going on like that, and everyone knows what that sound is like. That banging kind of rattling sound in that truck, tire sound,
Yeah.
So we saw one of those. So I signaled to the bus driver, and he opened up the passenger doors on the side, and I sat there with the mics just inside the door.
Wow.
I had him slow down next to that, right next to the wheels, wait for a second, go forward, and let it go past us. I had the exact sound needed for that part of the film.
Wow.
And that's why it fits like a glove. And when you see the film, you don't even notice because it sounds exactly like what that is. We actually got that truck to do that.
Wow. That's great.
So,
that's great.
Those are fun stories.
So
anyway, moving on. So I am now also, doing the Space Command studio. We are getting ready to shoot more.
Yay.
Yes, it's going to happen. We're remodeling the studio now to allow for more space in Studio 2 to be filming in and having more storage in Studio 1, which has been quite the challenge. People like Koshik, if there's anyone like Koshik, I don't think there is, but you can say that. There he is. He has been helping tremendously. We've had other folks helping tremendously too, and I need more folks to come and help in the future, like tomorrow or Monday. So if you're interested in doing this, I can pay you $15 an hour, or you can volunteer. Some people prefer volunteering because then they can come and go if they feel like it.
Yes.
And other people prefer to get paid because everyone likes to little cash in their pocket. So it's perfect timing for that. I'm welcoming all comers because I've got to get this finished in the next week or two so we can start scheduling shoots. And then we'll be announcing more shooting coming and looking to doing that. Some of those shoots require a few extras here and there. Some of them require some speaking roles and walk-ons that have been Kickstarter people that have won those in the past. But you never know. Every time someone comes and volunteers, they somehow magically end up in Space Command somehow. So this is a good way to do that if you want to. So you can reach me at davefilms@hotmail.com, DAVEFILMS@hotmail.com, which I've also put in the chat. And you can reach me that way, and we can get you hooked up. Now, the table email. If you want to be on the table email and you're not, you can write to me at the same address I just said. You have to have your entire email with your name, full and feature of the first and last name. Numbers are okay, not Yahoo. So if you have to make a new Gmail, whatever, it's free, first and last, if numbers you need it, and then send that to me, and I will send it on and get you hooked up. It's very simple, but you have to have that. And if you're having trouble with the table email, let me know. Scott Baker, I sure hope that's gotten taken care of with you by now. And if it's not, I'm going to stop my life and take care of that with you, because that needs to be handled, because you're such a good person anyway. And Guy Linda's now doing, she's kind of splitting the coast here with us. She's in,
Great.
Tonight she's on the Mr. Sci-Fi.
Yes.
Sometimes she's on the table. So,
Yes.
You know, it's fun. It's
Great.
a fun time.
Yay. Okay.
We're actually having lots of fun. So join in. Now's your chance.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yay. 3 cheers. Excellent. And one thing I want to mention about your stories about, oh, by the way, I just bought a deluxe new edition of Battle Beyond the Stars that includes audio commentary by Gail Ann Hurd. So that should be very, very interesting.
Oh, that's great. James Cameron did the production design on that.
Yes, yes. And so I'm sure you'll find that very interesting, David. I'll have to loan it to you. But
Roger Corman, so this is a great way he did that. He did a print from Battle Beyond the Stars. They made loops out of the sequences that had fighting that he made with the spaceship, that he at great cost to him.
Yes.
He created those. So we had him on a projector on the set of the 3 next sci-fi movies.
Yes.
Playing these loops on the screen, and the actors would watch and they would rehearse. The shooting after and would shoot back like this. They'd do 4 or 5 of those and do another loop and 4 or 5 of those. This is how he managed to get that film in 3 more movies.
Wow.
So it was a little secret, and I was a projectionist of that backstage.
Amazing, amazing. And but I really want, as the author of the Twilight Zone Companion, I feel so strongly that it's very important to interview the creative personnel on major film and TV shows. And so I'm very glad the guy is doing a book about speed, because, when the people who worked on a project are gone, they're gone, and all of those stories die with them if they're not recorded. I'm so glad that I wrote the Twilight Zone book when I did, because I got, I got all that stuff down for the record, and 100 hours of audio interviews with the writers and directors and actors and producers. And now you'll notice on DVDs and Blu-rays that for a while you would have the original creative personnel providing interviews, providing commentaries. Now more and more it's like critics who are the second generation, because all the creative personnel have died on various given projects. So it's so important to get that stuff down as oral histories. It's vital. And so anyway, just a little thought.
People don't really realize what an impact speed had on the industry. It was a star turn for Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
It was kind of a star turn for Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
He had one, but he had a new one.
Well, it changed his image into an action hero.
That's right. And John DeBont's first film as a director, he wanted to do Twister and other things. He was an incredible cinematographer on films like Basic Instinct, which I think is a masterpiece personally. And he's an incredible DP. And it was a real turning point for so many people. And we won 2 Oscars for sound on that. So it was really, kind of a remarkable thing.
Yeah, and what people
in the book too.
And what people often don't know is that bus was created for that film, and buses didn't exist before that movie. So anytime you see a bus now, it's thanks to that movie, because people just walked from place to place before then. Yeah, so really a landmark film. So so do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam? David.
I just thought of some other stories about that.
Yeah, well, next week. Next week.
Speed stories next time. Okay,
yeah.
Remind me. I'll do the speed stories.
Sure, you bet.
5 buses, stunt buses. I'll
wow.
tell you about that.
Wow. But okay, but
the Twilight Zone. Let me chime in.
Yes.
I just because Robert Downey Sr. just died.
Yes.
I was unaware that he had directed 3 episodes of the 1980s.
Yeah.
Twilight.
Yeah. It was.
And then again, he also directed Mad Magazine Presents Up the Academy, but that's another story.
Yes.
So he directed the Twilight Zone, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't. I knew some of the. I mean, I knew the writers working on that show. It was an astonishing writing staff: George R.R. Martin, Harlan Ellison, Rockne O'Bannon, Alan Brennert. I mean, it was a really good writing staff. But they got a lot of feature directors to do episodes. It was pretty remarkable. But it wasn't the show that Rod Serling, it wasn't on a par with Rod's. It was very hit and miss, but there you go. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David.
Indeed. How you doing, Mr. Sci-Fi? Mark, can you give us some history on those action figures and models on the shelf of your library?
Yeah, my favorite spacesuit is the spacesuit from Alien. It's one of my favorites. The one from 2001 is another. And so I have all the figurines of the different. A lot of people don't know that each spacesuit in Alien was a different color, and so I have all of those as action figures. I've got the action figure of me. I've got the action figure of Ethan McDowell. I have a model kit of Rod Serling that Leonard Maltin gave me years ago. Those are some of them. I've got a lot of the awards I won: the Saturn Award, the Rondo Award, the Lifetime Achievement Award, all that stuff. But those are some of the ones just at a glance. But maybe I'll do a video about that sometime soon. So great. So next on my screen, well, Susan Douglas, you've been waiting a while. If you're there, if you want to take your turn. Oh, are you there, Susan? What? Yikes. Well, okay.
I am.
There you go. Okay, great.
I am here. Hold on one second.
Sure.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
I'm parked now.
Oh, good.
So hold on a second.
Sure.
Okay. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes. We can. So go ahead, please. Oh, now you're muted. Uh-oh. There you are. Now we can hear you. We can hear you now. No, it's fine.
Yeah, normally I'm not on my phone. So
That's fine.
But anyway, thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
Tim Allen invited me. I did come and visit you guys before when you were at, I guess it was Marie Callender's in the Valley.
Yes.
It was such a long time ago, but
Yes.
I'm just happy to be reconnected. And Kim and I are collaborating on a animated project for children.
Great.
And so we're practicing our pitch and things such as that. And so you did give out some information for
Yes.
her. I'm not sure whether or not anyone knows of actually people who are can develop the actual sketch the characters out for us for the pitch. We do
sure.
have a couple of contacts, but
Yeah.
checking to see if anybody else on the line.
Get on the table email.
does
If you get on the I'm sorry, Susan. If you get on the table email list, you can send out an email with that request. There'll be a ton of people who can submit samples of their work. There's also a website called Deviant Art where artists post their work. You can check that out as well. And Comic-Con, when Comic-Con is up and running again, definitely go to that because you'll meet a lot of artists.
Fiverr.
Yes, what Fiverr.com. Yeah, that's another one. The key question with anything one wants to undertake is, who do I need to learn from and what do I need to learn? So you might want to start really thinking about what shows do you like and who has created them. In other words, find out how the people who are doing work that you admire succeeded in what they're doing. And because again, it's there's ways that can help you. There's ways that can give you more of an advantage. So yeah. So anything else?
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, you said DMV art. Is that correct?
No.
As in like
No.
DMV getting your license?
No. Deviant. Deviant. Deviant, like he's a sexual deviant. Like deviant art.
Okay.
Yeah. And
great.
Yeah. And so anything else?
Okay. Yes, I do. I have another question.
Sure.
I am formerly a stand-up. I was going back to doing stand-up. I write and I'm also an actor.
Great.
But my main thing is getting this animated series together, my podcast and my one-woman show. But in the meantime, what I want to know is, like, if I'm trying to find an agent, not theatrical, commercial, I already have that. But if I'm trying to find a writing agent,
yes,
an agent for writers, what is it that they are looking for? Because, right now we've got the animated series,
yes.
I've got some more comedy, I've got like kind of a sci-fi comedy thing that I haven't completed yet. But I want to know what it is that I need to present.
What they most are looking for is cash flow. They really like representing people who already are earning six figures. that they can commission. But in lieu of that, I mean, I would put a lot of effort into trying to sell that animated show, because if that sells, then you're going to be very, very, very attractive to agents. Okay. And so
managers are more likely to take risks on new people than agents, but still cash flow is critical. Making the deal is sometimes very hard.
Yes.
So if there is interest, that's when you should either get an entertainment attorney aboard, or that's when you can approach an agent who handles these kind of things well. You know, that if you just sort of backward engineer, and you can say, I need to close this deal. It's on the table. It's good to go. I'll be happy to make you the agent of record if you sign me. And then you have them close the deal, and you give them 10%, even though you found the deal, but they close it and they make sure that you're covered and taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. But also as things start to open up and there's more in-person events, going to places where you can meet agents, where you can meet managers, when you can meet the executives from Nickelodeon and from Netflix is a very good idea.
But it's not about having stuff. It's about it is about cash flow.
Yeah. So anything else for now, Susan?
That's about it.
Okay.
Is there a particular person that would be like a manager that does packaging, like for somebody like myself who's doing, you know, an array of things that might have interest in, you know, like what I do, the writing, the stand-up, the one-woman show type thing? It's
possible. So what you would want to do is look at people who have careers that are multi-pronged like that. And if you look in the trades, anytime a deal is struck, it mentions who somebody's agent is. Or you can even go onto IMDb Pro and you can reach out to those people. A lot of them are on social media one way or another, you know, but again, you have to have significant earnings to make them feel it's worth their time and effort. And so I would start with finding ways to sort of be a train on the tracks. You know,
some of the challenges, sometimes you find these sweet little people who will handle, you know, new talent like that. But if you check into what they've managed to do, often you'll be better at opening doors than they will.
Yes.
Even though they're very nice.
Yeah.
So to get someone who has the relationships and the know life to have created those relationships, there really is a question of backward engineering and researching who isn't just nice but can get the job done. And unfortunately, yes, you usually make the first moves.
Yes.
And you research the hell out of them, but you make the first moves, and then once you're hot, once it looks like you're not just very talented but you're actually selling, then they step on board.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I really appreciate your time, and
Great.
Thank you so much for speaking to me, and I hope to be with you on a regular basis.
Great.
Great.
Okay, well, thanks. Yay. 3 cheers. So, David, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Indeed. Rook Mountain Mr. Sci-Fi says, if you could adapt and direct any Harlan Ellison story, what would you choose?
Well, gee, that's an interesting question. I'd have to really give them that thought. I mean, Boy and His Dog, of course, is great. A lot of his stories are very, very dark. Oh, actually, I do know the one I would do. I'm Looking for Kadak, which is a very funny story about an alien on another planet that's Jewish, and it's really fun. It's really fun. I actually have a tape of Harlan doing a reading of it in dialect, and it's just great. It's a very wonderful story. So probably that would be the one I would do, because it's just so funny and so fun. Because again, you know, Harlan could write very brutal, very dark stories, but the warmer ones, the ones with a little more heart, are the ones that appeal to me. So, but yeah, I think that'd be the answer. So let's see. So I guess Satya, would you want to now? And also, by the way, I owe you an apology, but I had food poisoning this week, and that's why I wasn't really as responsive as I wanted to be. So apologies, but I'm still on the mend. So, but go ahead, please.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm also on the mend.
Oh, good.
I got a pinched nerve on my shoulder.
Oh dear.
So my car is fine. Thank God it's back, but now it's my turn.
Oh gosh.
I guess it's a part of just being human. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I actually this morning Central Casting had like a union meeting. They started the Zoom meetings.
Wow.
In person, I don't know when they're going to start, but they said at the end of this month they'll start opening up to new applicants for Central Casting.
Great.
And so happened the casting director for All Mankind was there, so I got to personally thank her, and
wow.
And they're booking me next week to go back on the show as background, so that's fun.
That's great.
Yeah, so I was just curious. I know you have a lot of experience in talking to a lot of people and all that, but
yeah,
because I'm in like this featured background on this show,
yes,
what could I do? I know you're also trying to help me out. If it works out, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But what I could do on my end, because I'm part of the Mars team.
Yes.
So until the Mars story is over, then that's it.
That's
or
great.
I don't know what they plan on doing. But.
Wow, that's great. It's tricky because some shows are very hierarchical and they don't want the extras talking to the the name actors. They don't want them talking to the directors, the producers. But that's not a hard and fast rule. So you can kind of feel the vibe and you can see who's kind of friendly, and it's just kind of look for moments of opportunity without pushing too hard is what I would suggest. Think about what you can, like, for instance, if you set up a podcast where you're interviewing science fiction directors or science fiction writers, that gives you something, an excuse to approach them, and say, I'd really love to interview you. I've been, because someone who almost never, ever, ever gets interviewed are science fiction television directors. Okay. So that might be a starting point. Okay. Also the writing staff, Ron tends to be very, very supportive of his team. And so if you know who the writer is on a given episode, that writer might be on set, kind of keep an eye out, right. And I mean, because again, if you see, any of the guys there, women, you can say, it is appropriate to go up to a writer and say, I just wanted to thank you for this. It's such an inspiring show and I'm so thrilled to be part of it, and sometimes it can start a conversation where they'll say, well, what do you do? Are you a full-time extra? And you go, no, I can talk too. And, whatever, and, but again, everyone who has succeeded in this town started with a dream. And so unless they're jerks, they're not offended by other people having big dreams. They actually find that very relatable, and as long as you're not asking big favors, they'll usually be reasonably kind, is my experience.
Because it's much safer to ask advice than a favor. That's partially not. People tend to be naturally generous in this industry.
Yes.
But after you have like your first role, you have so many save me. You start to develop almost a gag reaction.
Yes.
People asking for favors.
Right.
But whenever Mark said, "Can I have some advice?" rather than a favor, that gag reaction doesn't happen, and the natural generosity kicks in.
Yes.
And they tend to offer a lot of favors.
Yeah.
It's just that the first role that you ever get where your name is up there, I have a feeling you're going to be so flooded with people, however nice you want to be, and people saying, save me,
right.
that you too are going to have to dissolve, to be a little bit cautious.
I mean, your security can break their collarbone or whatever, but it's, so if I remember, you want to have a speaking role, right, on the show, ideally, right?
Nice if that would be an option in the future.
Yes. So and
they've asked me to be like crying on cue and doing things on cue. So I've been doing a lot of physical stuff.
Great.
Right.
And are you and I don't know if you're allowed to say, but are you on the Mars base or are you on mission control back home or what?
I'm on the Mars team. I was on the control. I was inside in space, and then I was also on ground. So I'm not sure where we're heading next.
Okay.
But I'm still part of the Mars team, so I guess
great.
That story's still going on.
Oh yeah. So that's great. Well, I'll I'll try and get to it tomorrow. And email Ron and see what I can do. Are you there for the next few days, or what's your schedule?
I'll have a COVID test next week on the 14th to work on Friday.
Great.
I'm not sure what other days they
Yeah.
have. Central
Yeah.
Casting doesn't really give you a full schedule. They kind of
Sure.
break it down bit by bit to us.
And you
Maybe
said,
that's how they get the information.
right.
I don't know.
And you sent me your reel, correct?
I did, yeah.
Good.
And then I also did a monologue
Uh-huh.
of one of the characters from All Mankind.
Oh,
and I
great.
really loved her character, so I filmed that monologue.
Wow,
Great.
that's cool. So let me take a look at all that. Let's I mean, you know, and and then let me see what I can do. Yeah, I'll get into it. I'll roll up my sleeves and yeah.
I mean, the fact that they keep calling me back, I'm like, okay, that means I fit in this world.
Yes, yes, yes.
Maybe a chance, yeah.
Well, again, you never know. It's just, there magic can happen. It's, I mean, I've known Ron ever since the Star Trek: The Next Generation days. And in fact, in the new book, I quote him at length about how he broke in, which is a great story. And so he's a really.
Where can I hear that story or watch her?
It's the new book. So when the new book is out, you can, but because I remembered him telling me, and so I typed it up and I emailed him and it said, "Is this accurate?" And it was pretty close. He corrected 1 or 2 points, but he's a really good guy. He's just a totally really good guy. I've known him forever. So yeah. So we'll get into it. So anything else you need?
I have a question. I know Susan also talked about like how us actors have so many things we're juggling.
Yes.
And I had a casting director session today as well, and he's like, "So what do you really want to do? TV, theater, live, or movies?" And I don't know if we're confusing casting directors because we're doing everything we can to keep creative.
Right.
And I'm like, should I streamline? Because I also want to start putting stuff together. Like Koshi keeps talking about it, so it's exciting me to do my own thing too.
Yes. Yes.
And I want to do this and I want to do that, but I'm like, do I have to streamline so I could
you have to
how I want people seeing me? Or?
You have to prioritize. It isn't so much that, I mean, for instance, I do books and TV shows and movies and comic books and audio plays and all of those things, but they're all like, for instance, with Space Command, my primary art form is television. Okay. Everything comes off of that as an ancillary product, but I'm very clear on what my main goal is. My main goal is to be a showrunner creating science fiction shows that speak from my heart. Okay.
Right.
And so because I'm very clear, I mean, my mentors and my inspirations were people like Ray Bradbury and Rod Serling and Harlan Ellison, and they were writing television and doing movies and doing books when I was a kid. All of those things were areas that they were very, very, very skilled at. And so from my earliest years, I wanted to be multimedia in that way. But many people, the way you know if you're too spread out is if you're not getting to the finish line with anything. Okay? But it's very clear to know what you actually want. It's very important to say, I mean, making a living as an actor is a very estimable goal. Making 6 figures or 7 figures as an actor per year is a very estimable goal. Reinventing how people are viewed. How particularly now they really are serious about having diverse characters in lead roles, which was not the case until very recently. And so now they are serious because Shonda Rhimes and a lot of other people are making huge amounts of money for them.
But in answer to your question, I would definitely streamline it because if you're, what gives them an income stream, and who do they have to know that they need to introduce you to?
Yes.
And if it's television, there's a lot of different roles. There's a big push toward, using many different kinds of faces from many different kinds of cultures. There's a big push for that for now, which is great. So I would like to be something that is in powerful. I love where I am, but powerful, character driven. I would like to have an ongoing major role in television. Then it doesn't pay them anything. You could mention, oh, by the way, I got cast in this play. Or after you've made them some money, you can say, oh, by the way, I'm putting together a project just so you'll know. But in terms of their money and them needing to introduce you to people that they know, I would definitely go for mainstream television, and in your head decide who are some of the producers or directors or writers who are doing the stuff where you go, wow, they really get the heart of the characters, and say, I would love to work with somebody like. And if you love them, they'll probably really love you because you see the world through a similar lens, and you want similar things out of characters. So get those names, but no, I wouldn't spread myself too thin because it feels, it's not true, but they write that off as a dilettante thing. And I know a lot of people who do many, many things, and they're not dilettantes. They work hard at everything, but it confuses representatives until they know you very well.
Yeah.
My focus is I want to be on a television actress.
Yes.
But I'm not always on television, so I try to keep being creative. And I'm like, oh, I have this idea, and I put it together, and it may not go according to my path, but I have this creativity I want to share.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, that's great, because if you say, I want to be a TV actress, and here is something that will aid in my visibility toward that objective.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
So you help
right.
them understand that that's something you're just doing as a tool towards your main objective, not that you're doing it because you value it equally.
Yes.
Which isn't true, but hey.
Yeah. But that's great. 3 cheers. Yay. So David Bartlett, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Fit to be read says, would love to know if any insights on Greg Egan.
I don't know anything about Greg Egan. So I will between now and next week, I will endeavor to meet him.
I can improve on that. Mark is Galinda B says, Mark is an incredible database and an amazing storyteller.
Thanks. But yeah, and again, I know a lot about the older science fiction writers, particularly the ones who were writing in the 50s through the 1970s or 80s, simply because that's when I was, growing up, and that's when I was reading extensively and going to conventions and meeting a lot of these writers. Now, when I go to a convention, I either hang out with the people I know, like George R.R. Martin, those kind of guys, or if I meet younger writers like Mira Lafferty, who I like very much, or the writer of Murderbot, the Murderbot Diaries, I'll frequently meet them and like them and then check out their work. Like I have been reading the Murderbot Diaries stories, and I did like 6 Wakes, which Mira Lafferty wrote, but I don't have the time. I also like Andy Weir very much, particularly The Martian. But so I know these people, but I just don't have the time to meet everybody who's anybody in science fiction, horror, and fantasy, simply because I'm busy doing stuff. So, but yeah,
I've got one here that you and Elaine might both like to chime in on.
Uh-oh.
This is 3 different things that are real similar.
Uh-oh.
Galinda B says, I'd love to see local theater make a noisy comeback.
Mm.
Odie Dillon says, I'd love to see a drive-ins make a huge comeback.
Sure.
And Scott Baker says, I have an idea for setting local theater ablaze, figuratively, of course, and getting it online.
I want to see Zeppelins make a comeback. That's where my head's at. I would love to see.
Right?
Yeah, I think airships would be terrific. And there's one of my episodes of Sliders. We actually wanted to open it on a Zeppelin with our guys living the life of luxury and getting massages. And we actually tried to get footage from the movie The Hindenburg, the Robert Weiss film, that we could basically, because we had a running in all these parallel worlds, we had our standing hotel set. And we were going to, and I don't remember what the name of the hotel was, but this was going to be like a flying hotel. There was a parallel world version of that hotel. So we were going to take shots from the Hindenburg and put on via VFX the name of that hotel on the airship. But ultimately, it was too much of a throwaway gag to justify the expense, and so we didn't end up doing it. But but in early drafts of the script, it was set on that airship. So there's that. I don't know if you want to comment about drive-ins or stage or.
Well, we're sorry. Yeah, we're sorry. Drive-ins went away, and the small theater was.
Well, drive-ins are back.
Yeah, but they're far away. They're few and far between.
Well, yeah.
And in terms of local theater, there was a lot around here. A lot of it was pretty good, and I hope it does come back.
Yes. So, Mark Gushowitz will do you, and then we'll do David. So go ahead.
Is it me or is it? Because I'm looking at my screen, it looks like David Golden holds his picture. He's staring at me like he's going to kill me.
Yeah, he's really pissed off at you. He's had it with you, as have so many people. But go ahead, please.
right, so this was a absolutely devastating week for me. So nothing got done. Yesterday I lost my father.
Oh, we're so sorry.
I'm here more just to kind of be around people.
Yeah.
Throughout the day, I'm generally sitting here alone, and it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'm gonna head into Connecticut on Saturday. So nothing really got done this week at all.
Well, yeah.
Actually, I wasn't even supposed to be here tonight. I was supposed to be finishing my sound in the studio.
Hmm.
Just didn't think to be able to concentrate. So that's been postponed. I'll be meeting up with a girl on Sunday to finish that off. And of course, the website is just until something like this hit, you just can't concentrate.
No, just be gentle with yourself. You know, really take the time, take a breath. There's no expectation of you having to be, productive.
Yeah, so I just thought that since I'm kind of sitting here alone, I'd be better to kind of come in and listen.
Good.
I'm glad.
Good.
I have a lot to say, but I would just come out into this point. So I'm just here to kind of listen and be around.
No, and that's fine, Mark. Absolutely. And how long will you be gone? Do you know?
We haven't gotten the plane tickets yet. We're gonna get those tonight, but it'll probably be Saturday to Wednesday.
Okay. Well, maybe when you're back, Elaine and I can take you guys out to dinner, and just kind of take a moment to just kind of be human. We'd love to do that. We'd love to do that.
That would be great. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
I'd love to pick your brain a little bit more, which a one-on-one would allow me to do.
Yeah. Well, just when you're back, just give us a call and we'll take you out and have a good old time. So but
well, I appreciate that. I would really enjoy that.
Yeah. Well, also, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, so I'm not really gonna take up any more time.
No. Yeah. Well,
I
no,
don't
but
know what to say because my mind's everywhere else. I just want to sit
fine.
back and kind of just listen and have the company in my office with me.
Yeah, and no, that's great. I'm really glad you showed up because again, the table is not an organization; it's a community, and the idea is that we're here through thick and thin for each other. We help each other. If you're feeling bad, it's good to come. If you're feeling good, it's good to come. It's like through thick and thin, and we're all family. So that's great. It's good to see you, and condolences about your dad. But
Thank you.
I'm
But
glad.
now you're going to have to go out to dinner with me because you mentioned it.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm a real sap, but that's that's how it goes.
And I got to tell you something. I would love to have a one-on-two call with her. I guess I bring my wife too. So
Yeah.
we never really had that opportunity.
It'll be fun. It'll be great fun. And So, but yeah, we'll nail down the details of that. Soon. But great. But 3 cheers. Good to see you. Yay, Mark Legashowitz. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
Yeah, I saw the picture you posted on Facebook. Looked like a nice man.
Yeah.
He was a little selfish at times, but man, he knew how to be kind and nice to people too. And so it's a loss. He's going to be missed.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mark. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David Bartlett?
Yes, there is. Scott Baker says, Mr. Sci-Fi, did you record any interviews with people you interviewed for Twilight Zone Companion? Can you publish those segments on your YouTube channel or work into a Twilight Zone digital companion?
Yes, I have about 100 hours of interviews with all the major people from the Twilight Zone, all 4 producers, the George Clemens, the DP, many of the directors, Doug Hayes, Buzz Kulick, on and on. Many of the actors, Shatner, Burgess Meredith, Ross Martin, Anne Francis, Bill Mumy, William Wyndham. And so there was someone who digitized them a while ago, but I've lost track of those digital files. I think, David, you and I were only able to find a few of them, not all of them, but I still have
We found about 50 or 60 files, but it was far less than you thought you had.
Yeah, well, I still have the cassettes. I have the original cassettes still. And
we can put those on digital.
Yeah, 1 or 2 of them have broken, but again,
I can fix broken cassettes. That's one thing I can do.
Oh, good. Well, that's good.
Gina does it.
Yeah, so I think it's something that should be done, and we should do it absolutely. And but the interviews are amazing. I had a bad habit of going when people were talking initially, because first of all, I never knew these were going to be that the audio was ever going to be heard by anyone other than me. And secondly, once I became aware I was doing that, I worked very hard to stop doing that so I don't do it anymore. But sometimes people have listened to those recordings and it's driven them absolutely out of their mind. So I think was it Dave? Was it you? Somebody went through and tried to remove as many of those as possible on one of the interviews. But
I've done it a lot. I'm not sure which interview you meant.
yeah, well, you have every right to be sick of me for any number of reasons. But yes, I mean, I feel so honored. I mean, think about it. It's really amazing when you think about it that at 21 years old, I decided to write a book about the Twilight Zone 2 years after Rod Serling's death, having never, I'd published one short story at that point. And I'd graduated from UCLA with an art degree. And so, first of all, the temerity, the hubris to undertake that and to think I could succeed at it, that's pretty remarkable. And the fact that I did succeed at it and became the world's expert and got all that stuff down on the record, and also found videotape of Rod Serling teaching classes where he would show an episode of The Twilight Zone on 16 millimeter, then talk about it. And we had video and audio of those sessions, which would not exist if not for me having found out about them. And that stuff's now on the Blu-ray. Amazing. And and that was via Gary Shusett, who was who was also very dearly missed. So but yeah, so that's some of it. But it was great to be able to do that book. And yeah, I've got a lot of stuff, and I also have, of course, file cabinets with folders for every single episode of The Twilight Zone with information, Xeroxes. I have all sorts of stuff. I mean, hundreds of photographs from the show, publicity photos, you name it. I mean, it's what I spent 5 years doing in my youth, and while I was writing for Smurfs and He-Man and all that stuff. So okay, so we get to David. Go for it, David.
Hi.
David Goldenholtz. Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, unmute.
He did unmute, but we still can't hear you, oddly enough.
Huh.
Nope, can't hear you. How odd. That's strange. Unless you're practicing your mime act. If you want, we can come back to you if there's some alternative you can plug in. We'll go to Earl, and then we'll come back to you, David. Earl, do you want to take your turn?
Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Is there a sci-fi question, David?
Well, we didn't get to do David, so we should jump over
Okay,
here and then
we'll do you, Earl.
we'll do
So
you.
to speak.
Earl F. Smith, award-winning film composer and
Great.
sound editor, sound designer. We are like these little close to finishing Marco Gutschwitz's zombie movie.
Yay! 3 cheers.
And, Faith said the other day, "Daddy, this is starting to sound really good."
That's good.
So, when the kids start to comment, then
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we got something. I just got that down payment this morning, actually, for another short film I just hired to do sound design for.
Cool.
I'll be down on 16th through the 19th, and I'll be doing quite a bit of sessions on Sunday, the 18th, in my studio in Granada Hills. I'm excited about meeting with the professor I studied with at Northridge on the 17th and discuss some of the chamber music that I'm going to be writing. And the most exciting news that I received is Faith auditioned for the Sacramento Youth Symphony, and she was accepted.
Yay! 3 cheers. That's great. Excellent.
That's about it going on with me.
Okay.
Hope everyone's doing well.
Well, that's cool. Well, 3 cheers, Earl. Good to hear all the good news. 3 cheers. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
Oh, yeah. Colleen DeBee says, Mr. Sci-Fi, on the subject of making something bad to get good, are you familiar with a film called Bad Taste by a then unknown Peter Jackson?
I've heard of the film, but I've never seen it, so that's something I'll have to check out. I mean, again, you know,
I've seen it if you want to know what it is.
Yeah. Is
I've
it
actually seen it a number of times.
is it good? Is it fun?
It's really kind of gross and disgusting. It took him 4 years to make, and it's probably more interesting to watch the documentary that comes on the special edition DVD, because it talks about how Peter Jackson, because he was working at a press place or press printing place for 4 years, and he would actually take over his parents' ovens for a great period of times to bake these masks that he was making for the movie. But for knowing who Peter Jackson is now, you go back and you watch it, and you're like, it's not very good, but it's really interesting because you know what he became.
Wow, that's fun.
It's kind of cool to see where he started from. How it's not as gross as his other movie. I think it's Dead Alive, something like that.
Yeah, Dead Alive.
Wow.
Which is a great movie, but it's pretty gross. It's pretty disgusting. And then when you see Lord of the Rings guy, you go back and you watch it. It's a really fascinating one.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know, it'd be very interesting to do a study of which A-list directors started out with really shitty movies and which A-list directors started out with really great movies, because there are ones who fall into both camps. You know, I mean, Spielberg was extremely hot out of the gate, and you know, and George Lucas was pretty solid too. But then there are ones who started, and it's like, man, oh man, they had a lot to learn. You know, so it's you know, it's pretty interesting. So that's great though. So David Goldenholtz, are you ready to rock and roll?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Good.
Awesome. So, nothing too new, as some of you know. I do sound mixing, I should say.
Yes.
I do a little bit of editing, not too much. I'm not as good as some of the people here, or even close to some of the people here. But I do voiceover. And also I finished the movie that I was doing sound mixing for, and they pre-released it. He didn't put it in anything yet, but he's going to actually release it hopefully this month. And when he does, I'll let you all know, and I'll send it out to all of you so you guys can see it.
Great.
But other than that, nothing too exciting has been going on. And yeah, that's basically what's been going on in my life.
Oh, well, that's, yeah. So,
is there anything you need, or any questions?
What was that?
Anything you need, or any questions?
Oh, anything I need? No, not as today.
Okay. Okay. Well, good seeing you as always. 3 cheers. Yay. So, David, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. A is 494. I recently saw Dalton Trumbo's film on YouTube called Johnny Got His Gun.
Yes. Yes.
1971, and was moved. Would you or Elaine consider remaking that film?
No. It's very bleak. Very, very bleak. For those who don't know, Dalton Trumbo, of course, was one of the great screenwriters of all time. He wrote Roman Holiday. He wrote Spartacus. The films of those titles, and just an astonishing writer. And of course, there was a movie about him called Trumbo that was very, very good. Bryan Cranston played him in the film. Johnny Got His Gun was a novel he wrote during the 30s. That was probably the most powerful anti-war novel ever written. It's about a young man who his arms and legs are blown off, and I think he's blind, and I can't remember if he's deaf.
Yeah,
but
blind, deaf, and dumb, all three.
and he can't speak, so he's basically trapped inside his own body, and it's a very powerful novel. But in fact, Trumbo had it taken off the market during World War II because he was very pro World War II and anti-fascist, and he didn't want because the enemy was trying to use Johnny Got His Gun as a something to aid them as an anti-war message. And so he actually had it taken off the market during World War II. And it was done as a radio production starring Jimmy Cagney, which was very, very powerful. And I don't remember if I've seen the film or not. I may have seen it decades ago, but it's such a dark, dark film. I personally wouldn't do it myself, though I admire it, and I've read the novel.
I saw the film, and it had such a stamp on me. I'll never forget it. It had the entire scene was an internal monologue and voiceover
Wow.
of this guy and just his body on his hospital bed.
Wow.
And people would come and go, and he would try to call out to them when they couldn't hear him, of course. And finally, there was communication with a nurse of some kind, with touching his skin and involved with some kind of communication, like she could talk to him and find a way to get back to her.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Well,
for
she
most
knew-
of the film, he just
she
trying
did-
to communicate with people.
She
and
did
they-
Morse code on his.
She did Morse code on him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
she did Morse code.
Right.
On his chest.
Wow.
And then he could understand her.
Yeah. Wow. But but the book is, I read the book in high school, I believe. It's a great book, but
Incredibly wrenching.
yeah. So so that's not on my list of,
Because it
of
doesn't feel
remakes
like
to do.
He didn't do it like melodrama. He did like you
No.
were really inside his body,
Yeah.
and it was awful.
Now, one book that I think would be very interesting to do, a visual adaptation of, either film or TV, is the first novel, science fiction novel written by an African American, is a very interesting book called Black No More, written in 1930. I have the first edition of it, and basically the idea is a scientist, it's set 4 years in the future from then, and a scientist develops a way to turn black people into white people. And so all of a sudden, and it's what happens to racism, and what happens to all the major black figures in the society and the major white figures in the society, and how everything's turned on its ear. It's a real, and it's a satirical novel, really interesting. And I can sort of understand why it was never made into a film, but it's certainly an interesting notion for a film. And so, because it really gets into the issues of race, and it's a really fun book, really, really fun. So let's see. So now
So by the way, Jim Bottoms played Johnny, the voiceover of Johnny in that film.
Yes.
Jason Robards.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Okay, so now it's Elaine. Now it's Elaine's turn. Elaine is here. Yay, Elaine!
Yay.
Yes, what's going on with you, Elaine?
Well, we're as we're pulling in more science, more visual effects guys, and we're starting to get everything organized. Thanks to David Bartlett and a bunch of some new guys, Mitch Suskin and Joe. We're now looking at, we're trying to now mark out everything that we haven't done. And
visual effects wise,
visual effects wise,
we're moving forward on this, on finishing the second hour of Space Command, the third hour of Space Command, and shooting the fourth hour. Basically, that's what we're doing on Space Command,
and trying to fix things that haven't been fixed yet.
Yeah, and but also we're moving ahead. There's a grant of $500,000 from Unreal Engine that we're going after for a feature of Elaine's called Ashes, which is a big science fiction movie set on a world that's being terraformed, and we are really going to go after that hammer and tongs. We have been talking to our VFX team. We're putting all the materials together, and also I'm launching the new campaign to do all those Twilight Zone commentaries to raise $100,000 to give Elaine to put toward one of her features. So because first money can really make all the difference. She could, Elaine could shoot half of one of her movies for that, principal photography at least, and that could really help in many, many ways.
But
so
we're now, a group of us are putting together a major campaign in that direction, and it's being headed by Michelle DaCosta, who's in Birmingham now, and having to put everything together. But money. It's great to have a team. We've got a lot of people helping me and helping put this together.
Yeah.
And maybe give it a shot. It's tough, but it's about they're trying to. This particular group is trying to advertise their system, and I don't know if their system will ultimately be the system.
Well, it's the large LED screens where they like they use in the that Star Wars show. What's it called, David?
Mandalorian.
It's Mandalorian. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's all very, very exciting.
But it doesn't fix everything. It's one aspect. You still need a lot of other visual effects in front of it.
Yes.
But we'll see.
It's fun.
So that's fun. So we're just moving along with that.
So is there anything you need?
Well, money, or else I would do Voiceless Roar right away if I could
Yes.
just get that.
Yes.
But right now we're just trying to get something off the ground to
Yeah.
establish credibility.
And
we have a wonderful actor, Damien Gerard, who's also stepping in as a producer.
Yes.
Who
On Ashes.
On Ashes,
yeah.
who's helping with the material.
Right. So we'll see how the next
we'll
few
see.
months are
Let's
going to be
just
very,
keep
very
him busy,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, because money talks, and we'll see what happens. But life is good. So, David, is there a final Mr. Sci-Fi question?
I do. I have two I can combine. They're actually perfect timing.
Sure. Okay.
One is Bob Rich says, "Hi, Mark and Elaine. Question: How
Great.
can writers create characters that feel as complete, believable, and true to life as possible?" And Mo Montgomery says, "How's the show running going, and what does the rest of July look like for the Zicrees?"
Yay. Okay. In terms of characters, most characters are bad because they're flat. So one isn't writing from a specific reference point. They're just creating a generic guy, or like a generic taxi cab driver or whatever, and all the characters talk alike and they're all boring. So what you want to do is really, really, really start collecting very different kinds of people and making lists and thinking of who's distinctive in your mind and what actors are distinctive. And I have all sorts of lists of people I've known. I really am very, very interested in people who talk differently from each other. Always cast every role in your mind, and you don't have to cast them with actors. You just have to cast them with distinctive people. And they can be actors. For instance, when I wrote Fugitive Space, Charles Durning was one of the templates in my head, and Steve Buscemi from particularly from Fargo was one of the other templates in my head. And so because of that, those characters were very distinctive. But I might be writing a character. I write a lot of characters based on Elaine, interestingly enough, because I like writing strong female characters. I write a lot of, and often I'll write roles for specific actors that I know I'm going to cast, like Bob Picardo or Doug Jones or Mira Furlan, and that helps a lot too. But just start really listening to how people talk, and anytime you meet someone who's got a really specific way of talking, you might want to interview them and record it, because again, I can write a character if I hear his voice in my head. And
but you probably heard the cliche that the specific leads to the universal, and the specific is an actual human detail. So if I'm writing about anything where I don't have a full picture, yes. I interview, I talk to people, I ask them, I record them, I find out about the subjects. Firstly, it's a subject that to me is personal and compelling, but then I never do anything. The main thing is not to be lazy, but I'll talk to people around the kitchen table, I'll talk to them about their feeling and how they reacted. The main thing is you have like real people in your head, because as storytellers, whether we're actors or directors or writers, our primary job is to tell the truth about the world around us. And if we're not open to the world around us, then we're just making stuff up.
Yes.
And it's that truth that connects us as audience to our fellows.
Yes.
Because we don't communicate that well, but if we see a truth on the screen and we suddenly say, well, I feel like that.
Right.
Or I have that pain, or I have that confusion.
Yes.
Suddenly you say, I do belong here. I do belong to the human race.
Right. And it's not the truth. It's your personal truth. And it's less what you believe. Like Rod Serling said, I write the truth as I see it, or better yet, as I feel it. So it's the emotional truth and getting to the emotional truth. And
it's extremely interesting when you have two characters who have competing truths. As in The Streetcar Named Desire.
Or Space Command.
Space
Command. Doug Jones's objective is at odds with Ethan McDowell's, and that's what gives us our drama. But go ahead. Streetcar Named Desire, Stanley Kowalski and Blanche.
Where they both have dreams of, they both have fantasy.
It ends badly.
It ends badly, but they both have dreams of
at least for Blanche
of what the world is like,
right.
and for Stanley, the world is like power and fearlessness and raw emotion.
Right.
Are what makes him powerful and worthy of Blanche's love.
Right.
Whereas with Blanche's sister, it was with
It doesn't
Blanche.
matter. Yeah.
As with Blanche,
Yeah.
it was like refinement and a higher order, and that's what
Well,
makes her
right.
worthy of. But the thing is that the more that you can have people with differing points of view and contention, rather than villains, it makes for a much more interesting and
Right.
realistic screenplay.
But the moral of Streetcar is it's if your sister's out, don't hang out with her husband. So don't hang out with your sister's husband if your sister's out of the apartment. So just a word to the wise. And so I just saved you guys 2 hours watching a movie. So okay, so what's July look like for the Zicrees? Well, we're working our asses off. I'll tell you. We're just working on the visual effects and on 102, 103 of Space Command. We're dealing with the scoring. We're dealing with post-production. We're dealing with pulling sets together for the shoots we're going to be doing late July, early August. Building the alien spaceship, building the 8-foot-tall creatures. It's all moving forward very effectively. Ramping up for the Twilight Zone campaign in August, the Twilight Zone commentaries, because I'm going to be doing all 101 commentaries I haven't done yet to raise the money for Elaine's feature. We are pulling together the video that pitches to Unreal Engine for why they should give us $500,000 for Ashes. I'm waiting to get notes on the book, my new book, because I sent it to my publisher and they're reading through it now. We're working on the Showrunners Network. Got to bring more attention to that. We're going to be meeting with the guy at Amazon a couple months hence. God, what else? I mean, just on and on and on. We're getting ready to publish the second issue of the Space Command comic. The artwork is all done. I met with a licensing guy today who wants to help us on Space Command. He's retired now, but he spent 25 years in licensing and for a lot of very big companies, so he can be very, very, very helpful in getting Space Command products out into the world, which I very much want to do. What else? I mean, tons of stuff. It's just our days are busy from the moment we wake up to whenever, but no, things are good and exciting and no complaints. And I just put down $100 deposit on a solar powered car, so we'll see how that goes. And I'm looking forward to that very much. And what am I forgetting anything? I mean, it's just
just busy.
Yeah, it's that life is good. I mean, tomorrow we're meeting with an artist who was our production designer at the very beginning of Space Command, and we're going to be hiring a production designer very soon. And but he has to have a very specific skill set. One of the people I'm going to reach out to is John Accavelli, who was the production designer on Babylon 5, and so that should be very interesting. And but it's just an amazing time. I mean, literally, it's all about bandwidth. It's all about how much time and energy we have, because certainly we're in the, we're having a very, that's you.
That's me. Sorry.
Yep, there you go. But no, things are going great and no complaints. I mean, my God, we're living the dream. It's just, we've got to be very careful of our time and energy so we don't run out of oomph. Well, pep. We need more pep.
We need more pep.
We need, yeah, exactly.
But
Zip.
I have to say, we work out 3 times a week to maintain this pep.
We do. We lift weights, we run, etc. Yeah, absolutely. We've had the same trainer for 30 years, and he looks spectacular.
Yeah.
So, but that's about it. By the way, there's an artist who, if you've never heard of her, a photographer, I highly recommend checking her out. Her name is Vivian Meyer, and she's one of the great photographers of the 20th century, and her story is amazing, unlike any other artist, and definitely her work is just superb. A friend of mine just did a lecture on her at the New York Adventure Club yesterday, and he sent me the link, so I was able to watch it, and it was just wonderful. So I guess that's it for now. We're here every Thursday, as you know. We'll be posting a lot of stuff on Mr. Sci-Fi, and it just keeps going. Thank you, Dave Edison. Thank you, David Bartlett, for the wonderful things you do for Space Command and for us. And we're living the dream. I mean, it's, you know, it's, I keep telling people that this is the happiest time of my life. I wouldn't go back to any other period of my life, because now I'm getting to do exactly what I want to do. And the world is supporting me in my dream and my vision. And it's thrilling. So
and we'd like to thank you, Mark, for joining us.
Mark Gushwitz, yes. Again, condolences. And
thoughts are with you.
yeah, exactly. Yes. And we look forward to having dinner when you're back in town. And so that's about it for now. Satya, if you don't have my phone number, David Bartlett can give it to you, because you might want to call me tomorrow, maybe like in the afternoon, and say, what are you doing? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you keeping your word to me? For God's sake, you're a lazy bum. I don't mind that, you know, and, you know, but I'm very, very lucky that I came up in the business with so many astonishingly visionary artists like Ron Moore. You know, I mean, I've been very lucky. Though I'll tell you a fun secret, which is all of us who are showrunners in science fiction and even beyond, our role model is Rod Serling. He is the one who inspired us and made us want to be in television. I mean, he was the first showrunner in the modern sense. So so it's really, really exciting. So that's about it for now, guys. So I think we will talk to you next time. And
Well, this is the first.
there we go. There we go.
There you are.
Yeah, though, guys. But to thank you.
Guys, I don't know what happened to Mark and Elaine,
Yeah.
but they are on the Mr. Sci-Fi channel if you want to look.
You're muted.
We're here.
They're right there, but they're muted.
Yeah, we're here, guys. Yeah, I don't know what that was. I guess it was the world doing something funny. But the point is that all the showrunners, our role model is Rod Serling, our idol is Rod Serling, and I mean, even with people like David Chase and David Simon, I mean, Rod's the number one guy. So
Well, it wasn't just the art, and the art was great, but that's it. He taught artists to try and take power.
yes,
So to
yes.
make choices that give you power over your own career.
Prior to Rod, producers ran television and writers were subordinate to them. Rod was the first showrunner in the modern sense where the writer ran the show, particularly in drama, and that was a huge, huge, huge change. In features, the director runs things, and sometimes the producer. The writer is treated like garbage unless he's a writer director. But in TV, writers run everything, so that's a rare gift. So great. Well, we'll see you all next time. Thanks, guys. It's been wonderful as always. And take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, guys. And thanks, Mr. Sci-Fi friends, and we will talk soon. Bye.